Wainscoting is a traditional architectural treatment that covers and beautifies the lower part of walls. Different styles include the solid wood raised panel wainscoting you'll learn to install here, as well as flat panel, wall panel, and beaded panel versions. Begin by removing baseboard and quarter round. Switch off power to plugs, remove cover plates, and test the fit of box extensions to accommodate panel thickness. Wainscoting can be installed directly on drywall or onto half-inch thick plywood installed over wall studs, as you'll see here. Mark stud positions and overall height of wainscoting before you continue. Elite Trimworks wainscoting kits come securely packaged with all the parts you need. The factory primed, paint grade version you see here is just like the solid oak raised panel kit we're installing in this video, and it goes on the same way. The wide horizontal strips that go above and below the panels are called rails. The vertical strips along the sides of the panels are stiles. The thinner decorative molding on the top is called the cap trim, and the molding that's tight along the floor is the shoe trim. All these parts surround and showcase the raised panels in the middle. Begin work by determining the precise stile spacing that makes sense for your installation by following these steps. First, temporarily lean the stiles against the wall, with as many of the stiles as possible spaced to match the factory width of the panel in your kit. Next, adjust the position of the stiles far enough away from electrical outlets so the required cutouts don't land on the shaped panel edges. You'll find a free, downloadable stile spacing calculator at the URL below. Now it's time to position pairs of stiles in corners so both of them show the same width of exposed face. Finally, mark stile locations on the wall for reference later on. For this installation, some of the solid oak raised panels required cutting to width on a table saw in order to accommodate the ideal spacing of the stiles. This also meant that the factory contoured edges on the raised panels needed to be re-established after sawing, using a Freud 99-519 router bit in a table-mounted router. Wait until later to measure the actual space between stiles for panels. Stiles that fit into inside or outside corners can be joined with 45-degree miter joints or butt joints as shown here. Use a level to determine if the stiles are straight up and down on their own, adjusting for a gap-free fit if necessary. As you can see here, all the rails and stiles in this installation are secured with screws capped with custom-cut and tapered wooden plugs to hide them. Air-driven or hammer-driven nails also work well for securing wainscoting parts. If the corner of your room isn't square, try angling back the edge of one stile, so the point of contact with the second stile is out front, where it'll create a nice, tight joint. Fastening the bottom rail is the first permanent part of the installation, but it often matters where in the room you begin. The installation you see here is in a century home, and there's a difference in floor height from one part of the room to the other. Always identify the highest point of the floor, if there is one, and begin installing the bottom rails there. Keep subsequent rails level as they extend around the interior walls, even if it means a gap will develop between the bottom rail and the floor. A level rail installation is key for tight stile-to-rail joints later, and any gap along the bottom of the rail is easily covered later by shoe trim. If some of your walls are too long to be covered by a single piece of bottom rail, cut matching ends at 45-degree angles on the two pieces of base rail that come together for the least visible joinery. Temporarily place all stiles on the bottom rails in the positions you marked earlier, with the factory-cut full-width panels sitting between them. Be sure to leave a small expansion gap between each stile and panel as they go together. Then measure and cut the custom width panels necessary to complete that wall. You'll also need to cut panels in a different way to allow for windows. Here you can see how the solid wood panels were notched to fit tightly against the existing window trim. While you're at it, mark and cut openings in the panels for electrical outlets and central vac ports. A jigsaw works well for this, but the compact drywall saw you see here is even better. Test fit the stiles and panels, then permanently install them if all looks good. The top rail is just like the bottom rail, except that it interlocks with the top ends of the stiles and panels. Install the top rail now, followed by the cap trim. Make sure the grooved edge in the bottom of the cap trim fits completely over the top rail before fastening it.